On Wednesday, May 14th, we found out who is going to be playing who, when they are going to be playing, and a little teaser for Buffalo was mentioned. Welcome to Sports for Beginners, Season 4, Episode 4 starts right now.
Welcome to Sports for Beginners. This is the show where I cover the Pittsburgh Penguins, Toronto Blue Jays, and take you on a journey through the world of sports. From the fans' perspective, here is your host, Scott McGregor. Let's have some fun.
Huddle up, huddle up, huddle up, huddle up, huddle up, huddle up. Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to 14th episode of Sports for Beginners, season number 4. The schedule is out. It released in full on May the 13th, which was a Wednesday. 2 Wednesdays ago, from the time of this recording, it is Wednesday, May the 28th, 2025. This show is dropping 2 Fridays after the release on May 30th, 2025. So, that makes me wonder, as a sports fan in general, that makes me wonder, how many games do the Buffalo Bills, aforementioned Miami Dolphins, Kansas City Chiefs have on their slate? Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Scott McGregor. I am your host of the program. This is the football program, and we're going to keep it to football. So, let's quickly start off with the big games, the primetime games. We're going to go by team eventually, including the Buffalo Bills, which are my favorite football team, as are Bills Mafia, and of course, all of our Dolphins fans. We'll get to those in a moment with some special announcements regarding programming there. But first, let's talk about the primetime games before we get to one team. Of course, primetime also means special international games. And what does that mean? Well, it means these are games you could stream on NFL Plus and on whatever provider you have, both in Canada and the United States, if the rights are given by the NFL to that particular game or particular area. I'm always a sucker for listening to CBS and, of course, NFL on Fox. And yeah, I also like NBC Video. I haven't watched a lot of Thursday night football games on Prime Video. I don't have Prime, but you know what? It doesn't matter. Because the next best thing we get is a look at everybody's schedule to figure out when and where they are playing, and of course when they are playing. Now, Bills Mafia. We may not be playing at the start of week 1, even on the opening Sunday. Scratch that, we are playing on the opening Sunday. In fact, we kick things off on Sunday Night Football. Yeah, that's right. While everybody else is playing football on Thursday, Friday, shocker there. More on that in a moment. But shocker there. Not really. We'll get to that in a second. I gotta let you know that a lot of these games I'm very excited for, especially on the Bills side. Okay, we're gonna have these things load up here while we are talking to you. But I'm very, very excited for these games. I really am. Game 1 for the Bills, I'm kind of mixed emotions. Why they have it prime time instead of a day game, I'm not too sure. Actually, wait, I know why they have it prime time. Because it's a rematch of the divisional round of last year against the team that kicked Buffalo's butt a week after they stomped, and I mean stomped, on the Jacksonville Jaguars 47-10 a week ago, before Buffalo got beat 35-10 last year by the team that they beat 27-25 in the divisional round of last year's playoffs. All right, we're going to use my Samsung here because we're taking a while to get this going here. Let's see what we can do. Let's see what we could do here. Okay. I like the Buffalo Bills. Okay. Figure all that out. Here we go. Let's bring it on here. Here we go. Scores. Here we go. So, the Buffalo Bills will have the opening Sunday Night Football game in week number 1 on Sunday, September the 7th, as they host the Baltimore Ravens. But wait, Sunday Night Football also has the game on Thursday night between the boys and the Eagles. That's right. The boys and the Eagles are in the schedule. Game time is at 8:20 p.m. Eastern Time. Game time for the up-and-coming game for the Bills and the Ravens is at 8:20 p.m. as well. Now, the Monday Night Football game, the opener of Monday Night Football, that's going to be an interesting fight. That's going to be an interesting battle. You got the Vikings and the Bears. It's a little too early for me to give predictions, but I think I can see the Vikings beating the Bears in this one. I really do. Sunday, we got ourselves a packed schedule. The Buccaneers taking on the Atlanta Falcons, the Miami Dolphins being hosted by the Indianapolis Colts. The Cincinnati Bengals are in Cleveland to take on the Browns, not the Bears. The Bears are the Chicago Bears. The Jaguars will host the Panthers. Arizona visits New Orleans. New England will host Las Vegas. Pittsburgh taking down the Jets. I should say taking on the Jets. The finals haven't happened yet. We're too early to it. Washington taking on the Giants, the G-Men. That's the 1 p.m. set slate. In the slate of games at 4:05 p.m. and 4:25 p.m., you got the Denver Broncos hosting the Tennessee Titans, followed by the San Francisco 49ers, Seattle to take on the Seattle Seahawks. The Houston Texans visit Los Angeles to take on the Los Angeles Rams. Sorry, Las Vegas to take on the Las Vegas Rams. Is that right? Did I have that right? Do I have that right for the Rams? Did they change? Nope. I should have said it. Los Angeles Rams, not the Las Vegas Rams. They used to be called the St. Louis Rams before. Now they are called the Los Angeles Rams. The Los Angeles Chargers used to be called the San Diego Chargers, but that name quickly got removed. And without further ado, over the course of the upcoming matchups, you also have the Commanders and the Packers in week 2 with Thursday Night Football. 8:15 p.m. Sunday Night Football features the Falcons and the Vikings. The Buccaneers will take on the Texans, and the Chargers will be taking on the Raiders. That's on Monday, September the 5th. Sunday Night Football week 2 is Sunday, September 14th. Falcons taking on the Vikings. The Commanders will take on the Packers to kick off Thursday Night Football, with actually Thursday Night Football at 8:15 p.m. Eastern instead of 8:20. And that is Thursday, September the 11th. All right, so just 2 weeks in on the primetime, I forgot to mention the Chiefs. How about them Chiefs? They take on the Chargers at 8 p.m. from an interesting area. Yeah, they will be one of the international games, as they will go head-to-head at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. I believe, if memory serves me correctly, that is the Brazil game. That is a Brazil game, if memory serves me correctly. So that is one of the NFL's international contests. The Chiefs and the Chargers. Chargers will be the host of that game, and that is on Friday, September the 5th, after the season opens with the Cowboys and the Eagles on Thursday night, September 4th. Okay, so we know about that. Let's quickly look at our other international games before we start moving to Buffalo and just Miami. The Minnesota Vikings will be heading to Dublin and London to take on the Pittsburgh Steelers. That is Sunday, September the 28th. So that most likely will be an early game the week of week number 4. 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Then they will play the Cleveland Browns on October the 5th. That also will be an early Sunday game as they go from Dublin, Ireland to London, United Kingdom. Sao Paulo, Brazil is where the Chargers and the Chiefs will be playing. 3 games down in London, United Kingdom. One of them is the Vikings and the Browns. The other 3 include the Broncos and the Jets, and then of course the Jaguars and the Rams. Both of those games, all of those games I should say, except for that game on Friday, all of the other games are on Sunday over the course of the week, and they are morning starts. The Miami Dolphins will be playing in Madrid on Sunday, November the 6th, against the Washington Commanders. But before that, the NFL returns to Berlin, Germany on Sunday, November the 9th, as the Indianapolis Colts will take on the Atlanta Falcons. Okay, so now who's playing who for Buffalo, or who's playing who for Buffalo and Miami this season? We'll take a quick break and come back with our schedule for Miami and Buffalo one at a time. The lead off was the release, and we got into just 2 of the Thursday night football games. Of course, Sunday night football will have the week 1 matchup Thursday. They also have Buffalo versus Baltimore that week in week 1. Primetime action happens with Kansas City and the Chargers on a little Friday night football. Ain't nothing like sitting down to a Friday night football game. We'll get into it all, including the Bills schedule and the Dolphins schedule very, very shortly. But first, we're going to take a quick word from our friends. Yes, I say our friends over at Sienna T Radio and Voices for Ability Radio. So, following those words, we will continue. Our leadoff was looking at the NFL schedule release. When we return, it's time to find out the Dolphins schedule and the Bills schedule in a nutshell. Plus later, how many times are you going to be hearing before they kick off on Sports for Beginners? How many times are you going to hear the post-game programs, Bills post-game and Dolphins post-game? And what do we got cooking on episode 15 of season 4 of Sports for Beginners? All of that later on. But next up, Miami and Buffalo's season schedule. And perhaps we'll run down Monday Night Football, Thursday Night Football, and Sunday Night Football in a nutshell after week 1. Stick around.
Don't go anywhere. There's more great conversations and content right around the corner. Sports for Beginners will be right back in a moment.
I wonder if I could make it. It's almost getting to 8 o'clock p.m., and I am still a few more steps away from home to get to my computer to listen to Sienna T Radio's Cosmopolitan Culture Club. The best of the best music from around the world. Can't wait. I think I made it. Sienna T Radio, making your day brighter, one song at a time.
Sienna T Radio will never give you up. They will never let you down, nor will they run around or desert you. So join Nick Astley for The Melting Pot every Saturday on Sienna T Radio. Hang on a minute. He's not Nick Astley. Oh, jings, I've done it wrong. Anyway, just join Nick for The Melting Pot on Sienna T Radio.
Now, let's take you back to the action To the rink and field we go. We find Scott McGregor.
All right. Ooh, I didn't even realize we were paused. I didn't even realize I paused myself there. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. We are back here on the program. My apologies. I didn't realize we were going. Sorry about that. My apologies. So yes, double Sunday Night Football on our football show here on Sports for Beginners. Double the Sunday Night Football in week number 1. You got Thursday, September the 4th, 2025. Cowboys and the Eagles. Then you got on actual Sunday Night Football, Sunday, September the 7th, 2025, Baltimore versus Buffalo. Get more to the Bills schedule. Of course, Primetime is included in it, but let's keep it down. The Sunday Night Football run down for a little while. A lot of games. Sunday Night Football continues after week 1. It's double trouble. Eagles, Cowboys on the Thursday, and then, of course, Bills, Ravens on the Sunday. Week 2 is a Sunday Night Football matchup against the Falcons and the Vikings. Week 3, we got the Giants hosting the Chiefs. Cowboys will host the Packers in week number 4. Buffalo will host both of their primetime action that they are in on Sunday Night Football, hosting the Patriots in week number 5. All these games are at 8:20 p.m. Eastern. Speaking of hosting, after being on the road against the G-Men 2 weeks ago, they will be hosting the Lions on week number 6. In week number 7, we got the 49ers, taking on the Falcons. Then the Pittsburgh Steelers will host the Packers on the 20th, which is week 8 of the season. That is the 12th of October. Not quite into December yet. Then we got the Commanders and the Eagles. Steelers will be at the Chargers. Again, I should say they'll be in primetime again on Sunday Night Football against the Chargers at 8:20 p.m. in week 10. Ravens will next play in prime as a special Sunday Night Football the week of Thanksgiving in the United States. They will be playing Thursday, November 27th, 2025 at 8:20 p.m. Following that on Sunday, we will have the Broncos and the Commanders. The Buccaneers and the Rams will play things out in week number 12. And in week number 11, just go 2 weeks back, after the Steelers and the Chargers, we got the Eagles and the Lions. That ought to be a good one. To week 14 we go. And now we're into December. That will be the Chiefs and the Texans. Cowboys and the Vikings on week 15 on Sunday Night Football. The Dolphins will be in Sunday Night Football on week 16 at 8:20 p.m. And the Niners will host the Bears at 8:20 p.m. on week 17. 2 days, 4 days before we hit 2026. All right, so we gone over Sunday Night Football. I'll go over Monday Night Football and go over Thursday Night Football in a nutshell later on. And if we don't get time to go to the Bills, I mean, technically we did do that already. But we also did mention Buffalo and Miami's schedule from Sunday Night Football. Well, here we go. Let's take a look at our schedule. We'll start with the Miami Dolphins, and again, our programming announcements for Dolphins postgame and Bills postgame, as well as before they kick off, which is a pregame show specifically designed for the Buffalo Bills fans, but also could be designed for football fans in general, especially Miami Dolphins fans. Speaking of Miami, here's how they start. I want to note in their bye week. Into their bye, Miami's bye week will be week number 12. That will be week number 12. So they will have a lot of football to play before they play into a bye, starting with the Indianapolis Colts. Game time is at 1 p.m. Eastern. That is in Indianapolis Miami's home opener is week number 2. They will take on the New England Patriots, at which time, then they got Thursday night football. It's the Bills versus the Dolphins. Squish the fish. Or eat the buffalo. I'm just referencing a couple of things that I would say on the post-game show when we get to that one. Moving on, primetime action continues in week number 4 as the Jets come to Miami for a 7:15 p.m. game on Monday Night Football in week number 4. In week 5, week 6, week 7, week 8, and week 8. Weeks 6, 5, 7, and 8 are 1 o'clock p.m. starts. They are against the Carolina Panthers, the Los Angeles Chargers, Cleveland Browns, and Atlanta Falcons. Of course, a few of those games are road games and a few of them are home games. All of them at 1 o'clock Eastern Time. Week number 9. Well, the Bills got Baltimore to kick off the season in week number 1. Time for some Thursday night football action. They will take on the Baltimore Ravens in week number 9. And speaking of the Buffalo Bills, the very next week, it will be Buffalo versus Miami at 1 p.m. Eastern from Hard Rock Stadium. Then both teams leave, or then Miami will leave Miami and head for Madrid for a 9:30 in the morning ball game on the eastern side, on the East Coast, I should say, against the Washington Commanders, in which they will host. Fast forward past week number 12, that is their bye. They will take on the New Orleans Saints, New York Jets, Pittsburgh Steelers on Monday Night Football, Cincinnati Bengals on Sunday Night Football, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, week 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, starting with New Orleans, then going to the Jets, then the Steelers, then the Bengals, then the Buccaneers. That is an afternoon game, by the way, after the Sunday Night Football game against Cincinnati. And then the Gillette Stadium game is to be determined, but that is how they will finish the season off, which will be against the New England Patriots. Now, I don't have a particularly great record for Miami, but I think they're going to go at least 11-4. Maybe 12-4. I don't know. I don't think they're gonna go 17-0. I really don't. Let's be logical here. And we're gonna actually now transition over to the Buffalo schedule before we get to last call in the next break. Before we get to that, however, let me just be logical here to close up the Miami side of things. And again, our announcement for Miami and Buffalo content on Sports for Beginners, the logo you see behind me, that is coming up after we get over the schedule of the Buffalo Bills, including the bye, because you'll figure out when we can bring the shows to you. I don't know if Thomas is going to be doing preseason Miami Dolphins content, but just to run over the schedule of that, which is 3 weeks. They will take on the Chicago Bears at 1 p.m. Eastern, Detroit Lions at 1 p.m. Eastern, and then the Jaguars of Jacksonville at 7 p.m. Eastern. 2 of those games at Ford Field and Soldier Field. One of those games, which is the night game, that's at Hard Rock Stadium, before the Dolphins open up the regular season at Lucas Oil Stadium against the Indianapolis Colts. So let me just be logical here. I think, given everything that the Dolphins have had to go through, especially possibly having to give up Tyreek Hill. I don't know if they did. I don't know that kind of thing. I have to look into the news on that. I'm not sure if I followed that. Whether they don't have Tyreek, whether they do have Tyreek, whether they have a lot of new guys. I know they will have a lot of new guys, but they may also have some old people or some returning people like Tua Tagovailoa, who I thought had a really interesting season last year. Okay, yes, he had to go into concussion protocol. Yes, he had to go into concussion protocol at some point in the season. But when you look at it, and I'm going to be logical speaking here, I believe that if the Dolphins play their cards right, you're not going to win every game. You're not going to win every bet. You're not going to win every football game this year. You're not going to win every football game. Let's just be logical. You're not going to win every football game. You won't win every football game. But you might as well win at least 12 games or so. I think Miami is going to go, for my final prediction, I think Miami is going to go, if they go playoffs, I think they're going to go 13-5, maybe 12-5. But my final prediction is 13-5 for an early prediction, season-wise. I'll predict Buffalo's record, but I know people are already saying, some of us, and I'm going to keep it to everyone, by the way. Everybody. I know some people I know some of us, well, all of us actually, are going to be wanting to know when or are the Bills going to go 17-0? I don't believe they will. It would be nice if they do, but like I said before, and I'll leave it at that as we take a break, one of our last commercial breaks of the show, I don't know if the Bills are going to go 17-0. I really don't think it's going to happen, especially not with Kansas City, but it would really excite me if the Bills were able to go 17-0. It would. I'm not ashamed to admit that. It would really be nice if they did. Will they do it? I don't know. I'll give you my actual prediction when we come back from the break. This is Sports for Beginners, the podcast, Season 4, Episode 15. Our coverage of the NFL continues to roll on to Dolphins and Bills postgame, as well as before they kick off for the Buffalo side of things. When can you hear it? How many times will you hear it? Will you hear it before an afternoon ball game this year? You'll find out all the answers in a break time. We'll take a break right now and come back. When we come back, besides Miami, New England, even though we're going to get to that, and of course, the New York Jets, who else are the Bills facing in the regular season? Stay close, and you'll find out next.
Don't go anywhere. There's more great conversations and content right around the corner. Sports for Beginners will be right back in a moment.
Looking for conversations on the world of broadcasting, sports media, and from time to time, my favorite sports teams? Listen to Broadcast Map with me, Ali Musa. To learn more about the show and to view the upcoming schedule, like the Broadcast Map Facebook page. Search Broadcast Map.
Looking for a sports podcast that covers sports weekly as well as gets you set up for the day? Check out Weekly in Sports with me, Scott McGregor. We give some shout-outs of the week to podcasts like this one and those who do them. Discuss the Blue Jays, Bills, Raptors, and more. To learn more, check out the Sports for Beginners Facebook page. Search Sports for Beginners. Looking for a good hockey podcast that covers your favorite hockey teams and mine? Check out On the Ice and Behind the Benches, where we chat about our favorite hockey teams from puck drop to the last play of the action. To learn more, follow the On the Ice and Behind the Benches Facebook page. Search On the Ice and Behind the Benches.
Now, let's take you back to the action. To the rink and field we go. We find Scott McGregor.
We welcome everyone everyone back into episode number 14 of season 4 of Sports for Beginners. It is our football program. Of course, early on in our program, we talked about huddling up. I know I said follow up. Well, it looks like I said follow up, but I actually said huddle up to be more specific. I was trying to say huddle up because that's what is football. But all things considered, we have talked about the NFL release schedule. Haven't really gotten into any of the other teams yet. Still got an announcement to do as to when you can expect before they kick off a Bills pregame show. Could possibly also become a Dolphins pregame show as well. But of course, also the postgame shows for the Dolphins and the Bills, titled Dolphins Postgame and Bills Postgame as well. We're going to get to that after a quick commercial break following this segment. In this segment, however, we've talked about the Dolphins' schedule so far, and in its fullest, I gave a prediction. I predicted probably 13-5, maybe 12-5 that the Dolphins would go this season. Still a lot to determine on the note of all of the action for the Miami Dolphins and the Buffalo Bills. Speaking of the Buffalo Bills, quickly we're going to go over their preseason schedule before we go into the regular season schedule. That's the schedule that really matters, but I want to let everyone know, first of all, the preseason schedule, just in case people tune in to preseason games. The Bills will be playing 2 night games and 1 day game. The first day game will be at Highmark Stadium. That will be against the G-Man Giants at 1 p.m. Eastern. The Chicago Bears will host the Buffalo Bills at 8 p.m. Eastern in week 2 of their preseason. That is an 8 p.m. start, and that is at Soldier Field. Then it's off to Raymond James Stadium for the last week of the preseason, the final tune-up, if you will. The Buffalo Bills will be taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Shout out to my fellow Blue Jays fan and Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan, Maurice. Looking forward to a great year of football for your team as well as the Buffalo Bills, who are my team. And with that being said, that is the full 3 weeks. Oh, I forgot to mention, the game against the Buccaneers is a 7:30 p.m. Eastern start. Raymond James Stadium. Soldier Field is where the Bears will host the Bills, and they will host the Giants. The Bills will host the Giants on Saturday, August 9th at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Hey, speaking of August, that's when Sports for Beginners first began. So we've got ourselves quite an interesting 2 months and a half to get to, where we will have a very special anniversary episode, part of our season 4 content. And a lot of that is going to be a lot of reflection. That's going to be a lot of reflection as we celebrate 3 years, maybe now 4 years. Well, 4 years definitely when we come down to 2026. But let me just check it out. We started launching this show in 2022. And right now, that would mean it has been around since 2023 and 2022. So yes, it has been around now for about 3 years now, going on 4 years. And this episode of the show, by the way, will most likely be all about celebrating and welcoming in people from around the globe that are just joining us or have joined us from the very beginning. With all said and done, let's move on to our topic of the regular season. Now, we know the New York Jets, the New England Patriots, and the Miami Dolphins are going to play the Buffalo Bills. The interesting thing is, before Miami hits the bye, they'll play Buffalo twice. For Buffalo, meanwhile, they will play Miami once before their bye, which is week number 7. So from week 1 to week number 7, preferably actually week number 6, the Bills will play on Sunday Night Football against the Baltimore Ravens. Then, and that actually will be their home opener, they then will take on the New York Jets at MetLife Stadium on Sunday, September 14th, 2025 at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 8:20 p.m. Eastern Time is Sunday, September 7th. Game time on Sunday Night Football, Ravens and the Bills. Back to prime time, the Bills go as they will take on the Miami Dolphins on Thursday Night Football at 8:15 p.m. Eastern. That actually will be a combined show that we'll talk about in just a moment or so, but still got to get through the schedule here. Following that night game at Highmark Stadium as a primetime game, the Bills will host the New Orleans Saints and the New England Patriots in back-to-back weeks. First in the afternoon at 1 p.m. Eastern. That will be against the Saints at Highmark Stadium. Week 5 is the Patriots on Sunday Night Football, 8:20 p.m. Eastern. Monday Night Football brings us into the bye week on week number 6 as the Buffalo Bills will be heading to Mercedes-Benz Stadium for a matinee with the Atlanta Falcons at 7:15 p.m. Eastern Time. The week of no games this season is week number 7, which is the bye. Then from week 8 all the way to week 18, the Buffalo Bills will take on the Carolina Panthers at Bank of America Stadium. They will host the Kansas City Chiefs. That game's at 4:25 p.m. Eastern. The game against Carolina is at 1 p.m. Eastern at Bank of America Stadium. Off to Hard Rock we go after the Bills host the Chiefs at 1 p.m. Eastern. Shout out to my Blue Jays fan and Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan Maurice. His Buccaneers and, of course, the Buccaneer fans listening to this show. You guys will be taking on Bills Mafia at Highmark Stadium in Week 11. A day game, 1 p.m. Eastern. Bills go back in prime time after that week, taking on the Houston Texans from NRG Stadium at 8:15 p.m. Eastern on Thursday Night Football. A couple of p.m. games after that at the Pittsburgh Steelers at a Cruiser Stadium. I'll get the help there if I can figure out a way to contact those at DK Pittsburgh Sports or anybody who's been to a Pittsburgh Steelers. If you can get me the right pronunciation for the stadium, the home of the Pittsburgh Steelers, a Cruiser Stadium. Hopefully, a Cruiser. Oh, there we go. I think I got this now. Acrisure Stadium. Yeah, I think that's right. Acrisure Stadium. That's at 4:25 in week number 13. Week number 14, Highmark Stadium hosts the Bengals and the Bills, 4:20. Then the Bills will face off against the Patriots one more time. In doing so, they will play at 1 p.m. Eastern from Gillette Stadium. So prime time at Highmark Stadium on Sunday Night Football, and then afternoon showdown at Gillette Stadium a couple of weeks later. And after the bye, they will take on the Patriots at 1 p.m. Eastern. Follow that up with a 1 p.m. Eastern start time against the Cleveland Browns the next Sunday after that, which will be for 21st, 2025. And then just before we hit 2026, the Philadelphia Eagles will be in Buffalo for a 4:25 p.m. Eastern time start time as the Bills will host the Eagles. And of course, the last 2 games of this season are at Highmark Stadium against the Eagles and the New York Jets. The game after the Patriots game will be at Huntington Bank Field against the Cleveland Browns. So at Highmark Stadium, we got the Bengals coming into town. You got the Patriots, of course, the Jets, you've got the Dolphins. The Eagles will be coming into town as well. I said the Bengals. You got the Buccaneers coming into town. The Chiefs will be in town. The Saints are coming into town. And the Ravens are coming into town this season. When the Bills are on the road, we will have games against the Jets, the Dolphins, the Patriots, the Falcons, the Panthers, the Steelers, the Texans, and the Browns. Okay, interesting. Okay. So, remember how I said early in the show, it's too early to make predictions, but some people have made predictions saying Buffalo's going to go 17-0. Like I admitted in the last segment, it would be really nice if the Buffalo Bills were to go 17-0. But being logic here, I think the Buffalo Bills will go at least, I think they could win at least 13 of their games this year. And it might be considered a bold statement, but give me Buffalo at 13-3. Wait, that doesn't make sense. Okay, let's try 14-3. Getting there. Don't think it's going to happen where the Bills are going to win all 17 games, because Week 9 against the Chiefs, yeah, I get it, it's at home, but remember last year when when the Chiefs were beat, when the Chiefs were beat by Buffalo at home or even at Arrowhead Stadium? I gotta remember when it was. But anyways, remember when the Chiefs were beat by Buffalo last year? And in the playoffs, it ended up not mattering because already the Chiefs had the number 1 seed locked up in the AFC. And okay, yeah, that also means they win their division. But Buffalo also won their division. I'm happy about that. 5-time division champs under the Sean McDermott era, but no Super Bowls yet. Listen, I get the idea is to win the whole enchilada if you really want to, but there are very many teams in this league, even in the NHL, maybe not so much in the PWHL or the NBA or even the WNBA, but there are teams, sticking to the NFL, there are teams in this league that are going to try to win the Lombardi Trophy. Kansas City last year, even despite beating Buffalo, they were ready to three-peat, and it didn't happen. I'm glad it didn't happen. I would have been glad even if it did happen. Yeah, okay, that means they're trying to go for the whole enchilada and go for a 14th opportunity. But my God, can we just figure out, first of all, if other teams can do it? Like give it a rest, will ya? I mean, it's very tough to win in any league. It's very tough to win in any league, even in the NHL, even in the NFL and the NHL, as I was going to say. So my final prediction is 13-4 for Buffalo this year. That at least gets us in the playoffs. Do I want the Bills to have a good year? Absolutely I do. But I want them to also be able to hang with the playoff contenders. And I'm going to be honest with you, I don't care if we have to deal with Miami or tango with Kansas City, because I know we're going to have to tango with Kansas City. If we have to tango with Pittsburgh or, surprisingly, the New England Patriots, I don't think that will happen, but if we have to tango with anybody in the AFC that we don't normally tango with in the playoffs, if we end up in the playoffs, that is, I expect the Buffalo Bills, should they end up in the playoffs, which we want to happen, to come out ready to play and ready to go out there and win as many games as they possibly can. All right, so as we mentioned early on, actually, you know what? This segment's run quite enough. We'll get to Thursday Night Football in a nutshell and Monday Night Football in a nutshell. And I already went over the international games earlier during the Miami Dolphins release, or the schedule release earlier in the episode. So we're going to get to Monday Night Football and Thursday Night Football and rerun Sunday Night Football in a nutshell. And then we'll get to the announcement to close us off on this show. My name is Scott McGregor. Episode 14 of season number 4 of Sports for Beginners will wrap up on the other side with Thursday Night Football, Monday Night Football in a nutshell, the schedule release in a nutshell for Monday Night Football, Thursday Night Football, and a rerun of Sunday Night Football, including that international game that's going to go down on Friday in Sao Paulo, Brazil. That'll be an interesting contest. It really will. It really will. I'm gonna tell you right now, it really will be an interesting showdown. But with that all being said, Thursday Night Football, rerun of Sunday Night Football, Monday Night Football, and before they kick off, Bills postgame and Dolphins postgame. When you could hear those, that announcement, plus Monday Night Football, Thursday Night Football, and a rerun of Sunday Night Football's action for the 2025-2026 season of the NFL season when Sports for Beginners returns.
Don't go anywhere. There's more great conversations and content right around the corner. Sports for Beginners will be right back in a moment.
Hello? How are you, my friend? Why? What's the matter? Why feeling bored and lonely? Look! Look at me! I am always happy. The only reason I can tell you it's because I listen to CNT Radio. All the best shows you can think of. The Melting Pot, the Cosmopolitan Culture Club, and the Song Bank. There are also many more new shows to come. Please make sure to visit her website at http://sienna-wordpress.com/sienna-radio. Oh, now I can hear you more cheerful. CNT Radio, making your day brighter, one song at a time.
CNT Radio will never give you up. They will never let you down. Nor will they run around or desert you. So join Nick Astley for The Melting Pot every Saturday on CNT Radio. Hang on a minute. He's not Nick Astley. Oh, jings, I've done it wrong. Anyway, just join Nick for The Melting Pot on CNT Radio.
Now, let's take you back to the action. To the rink and field we go. We find Scott McGregor.
And we welcome everyone back into Sports for Beginners, the podcast. My name is Scott McGregor. This is episode 14 of season 4. Our NFL 2025-2026 release. We'll get to our when can you hear Dolphins postgame, when can you hear Bills postgame, and of course, when can you hear before they kick off on Sports for Beginners, and of course, also the postgame shows Dolphins postgame and Bills postgame on Sports for Beginners, as well as on the ice and behind the benches. But first, we wanted to talk about Thursday night football, Monday night football, and Sunday night football. Let's give you a rundown of Thursday night football in a nutshell. It all begins in week number 2 with the Packers hosting the Commanders at 8:15 p.m. Eastern. All the games except those on holidays are at 8:15 p.m. and a couple of other time changes as well. Week number 3, we got Buffalo taking on the Dolphins. The Cardinals will host the Seahawks in week number 4 of Thursday night football action. The Rams host the 49ers in week number 5. Week 6, you got the Giants and the Eagles. Giants hosting the Eagles. Then you've got the Bengals hosting the Steelers in week number 7 on Thursday Night Football. In week number 8, you've got the Vikings in Los Angeles to take on the Chargers. You've got the Dolphins hosting the Ravens in week number 9. Week 10, you've got the Broncos playing host to the Las Vegas Raiders. It's an all-out AFC battle for the AFC East in week 11 as the New England Patriots host the New York Jets. Speaking of AFC matchups, that continues in week number 12 as the Buffalo Bills go head-to-head with the Houston Texans in Houston. Week 13, you've got not really Thursday night football, but you've got Thursday afternoon football as the Eagles will host the Bears at 3 p.m. Eastern. That's actually a Black Friday game, in week 13 edition of Thursday night football. That's the big week, by the way. Week number 14, you've got the Cowboys taking on the Lions in Detroit. In week number 15, the Buccaneers will host the Falcons. The Rams will pay a visit to Seattle in week number 16. And in week number 17, it's the Chiefs versus the Broncos in a week 17 Christmas bonanza. That's going to be a great Christmas holiday gift. Last year, the Bills got coal in their stocking instead of the AFC conference. Hey, but you know what the best present was? At least they won the East, which is their division. Oops, I swapped Thursday night football with Sunday night football. Oops, that's my bad. Oops. Anywho, that is the Thursday night football schedule. Speaking of Sunday night football, in a nutshell, here is your Sunday night football matchups. Beginning on September the 4th, they will have the Eagles and the Cowboys on Thursday at 8:20 p.m. Eastern. Ravens and the Bills on the first Sunday of the season from the old Highmark Stadium in its farewell season as we prepare for the new ground, in Buffalo of a new stadium coming in 2026. On to week number 2. That's a double trouble. Sunday and Thursday night. On Sunday Night Football, you got the Eagles and the Cowboys Thursday. Then you got Buffalo and the Ravens also on Sunday, part of Sunday Night Football. Then you've got the Vikings taking on the Falcons in week number 2. Vikings will host the Falcons. The G-Man Giants will host the Kansas City Chiefs in week number 3. The Dallas Cowboys host the Packers in week number 4 on Sunday Night Football. Week number 5, you've got the Bills hosting the Patriots. They will host both of their games they play on Sunday Night Football, both in week number 1 on the first Sunday of the season. And in week number 5, they will host the Patriots. The Chiefs start out on the road, but they will host the Lions in week number 6. Games at 8:20 p.m. Eastern, except on the special week. We will see where the times are for that one. Lions, Chiefs in week number 6. 49ers taking on the Falcons in week number 7 at 8:20 p.m. All the games, unless we have different timelines, are all at 8:20 p.m. Eastern. And yeah, they're all at 8:20 p.m. Eastern on Sunday Night Football. Except in week number 1, that's the same thing. Anyways, moving on from week 7, which is the Niners and the Falcons. Steelers will host the Packers in week number 8. Week number 9, you've got the Commanders taking on the Seahawks. The Chargers will host the Steelers in week number 10. Week 11, the Lions back in prime time. On Sunday night, they will take on the Eagles in week number 11. Week 12, you got the Rams hosting the Buccaneers. The Ravens will host the Bengals in week 13 on Thursday. That's a Thursday game that also has a Sunday game, and that features the Broncos taking on the Commanders. Commanders will host the Broncos during the Thanksgiving week, which is week 13, both games at 8:20 p.m. Eastern, part of the Sunday Night Football schedule. Week 14, we move on. The Chiefs. Speaking of the Chiefs, well, the Chiefs hosting the Lions after playing the Giants. They will host the Texans in week number 14. The Miami Dolphins will host the Bengals in week 16. In week 15, the Cowboys will host the Vikings. And in week number 17, it's the Niners hosting the Bears. So the Niners, Buffalo, and a few other teams hosting games after either being on the road or before they're on the road, or hosting both of their Sunday Night Football matchups. On to Monday Night Football. and we'll get to our announcement following the Monday Night Football rundown. In Monday Night Football, Week 1 is the Bears hosting the Vikings, 8:15 p.m. Double trouble in week number 2 as the Texans take on the Buccaneers first at 7 p.m., followed later by the Raiders and the Chargers at 10 p.m. Eastern. In week number 2, Ravens will host the Lions in week number 3, 8:15 p.m. Eastern. A lot of the games are at 8:15 p.m. Eastern on Monday Night Football. Some of them are at 7, 7:15, 8:15, and also 10 p.m. as well. Speaking of which, in week number 3, it's the Ravens and the Lions. Week 4, it's another doubleheader. You got the Dolphins and the Jets at 7:15 p.m., followed by at 8:15 p.m. an hour later, the Broncos and the Bengals. In week number 5, the Jaguars host the Chiefs in Monday Night Football action. The Bills will be playing the Falcons in week number 6. That is their first action of Monday Night Football. That is part of a double trouble, where they will take on the Falcons from Atlanta, and the Commanders, meanwhile, will host the Bears at 8:15 p.m. that same week, an hour after the Bills take on the Falcons, kicking up. Double trouble continues in week 7 as the Buccaneers face the Lions at 7 p.m. The Texans go to Seattle for a showdown with the Seahawks. In week number 8, we got the Kansas City Chiefs hosting the Washington Commanders. Those games at 8:15 p.m. Well, of course, the week 7 games at 7 p.m. and then, of course, 10 p.m. Week 6, 7:15 and 8:15 p.m. Eastern time. You get the picture. Moving on. Week number 9, it's the Cardinals in Dallas versus the Cowboys. In week 10, you've got the Packers hosting the Eagles. The Raiders will host the Cowboys in week 11. Week 12, the host belongs to the 49ers as they host the Panthers, the Carolina Panthers, that is. Then the New England Patriots will host the G-Man Giants. On Thanksgiving, week 13, they will host the Giants in Monday Night Football there. On to week 14 we go. The Chargers hosting the Eagles. Steelers host the Dolphins, 8:15 p.m. Eastern, week 15. Week 16 and 17, 15 p.m. starts. Colts taking on the 49ers. Falcons taking on the Rams. Falcons taking on the Rams, by the way, in week number 17. 49ers going head-to-head with the Colts in Indianapolis in week 16. So not a lot of action for the Buffalo Bills in prime time on Monday Night Football. Twice the amount of action that they will play in Sunday Night Football. Both games are home games. They also will be playing twice on Thursday Night Football. The first time is week number 3 when they will take on the Dolphins and host that game. Next up, they will be in Texas to take on the Texans. They will be in Houston, Texas to take on the Texans. The only action they have in Monday Night Football is against the Falcons, and that is a road game. And per the Buffalo Bills schedule, they will not face the Jaguars this season, but they will face Miami, the Jets, the Ravens, the Saints, Falcons, Patriots. Then that's the bye. Then they've got Carolina, Kansas City, Miami, Tampa Bay, Houston, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, New England, Cleveland, Philadelphia, and the Jets. In the preseason, they will be taking on the G-Men Giants, the Chicago Bears, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Alright, you've waited long enough. This episode has gone on long enough. You've waited long enough. It's time for the big reveal. It's time for our big reveal. When can you find Dolphins postgame? When can you find Bills postgame? And when can you find before they kick off one of our flagship programs and our pregame program for your enjoyment, Bills Mafia, and perhaps Dolphins Nation? Perhaps. That will be in the works. When can you find out? You're going to find out right now. Here is your lineup on Sunday on Sports for Beginners. Of course, these shows may drop on Monday before the post-game shows, or the pre-game show may drop on Sunday before the post-game shows for Dolphins and the Bills as well. This is the week 1 opponents, but first up, Thomas gets you pre-game ready for the Bills and the Ravens, but first he takes care of business with the Colts and the Dolphins on Dolphins Postgame on Sunday, September the 7th, 2025. Stream it live on Sports for Beginners and, of course, on the ice and behind the benches, I will say. Between Monday and between the coming weeks, it will be recorded on Sunday, most likely. Then yours truly, Scott McGregor, brings back Before They Kick Off on Sports for Beginners, exclusively and only on Sports for Beginners, the podcast. We'll get to how that's going to work in a little bit, but keeping it going here. And we're only going to reveal for week 1 right now. The rest of it will be coming out in a update when the show has hit live or we get close enough to it. But what I will tell you is Before They Kick Off will be playing on Sports for Beginners and exclusively only on Sports for Beginners on on the day of every ball game before the ball game begins. Every ball game the Bills are in prime time you will have before they kick off. After every game, however, every week, prime time, whatever it may be. On the day of the game, for the afternoon games, you'll get Bills postgame immediately following Dolphins postgame, unless the Dolphins are playing in prime time. And of course, should that be the case, On the Ice and Behind the Benches will premiere Bills postgame before it premieres another edition of Dolphins postgame. With that being said, you should at least hear Before They Kick Off for the regular season, given the Bills play twice on Sunday Night Football, host both of those games. They host the Ravens in week 1. They will host the Patriots week number 5. They will play in Houston in week 12 in Thursday Night Football, host the Dolphins in week number 3. You get the picture. You'll likely hear this right before game time. We're going to see if we can fit in Monday Night Football, but we're definitely going to try our best to fit in the 2 Sunday Night Football and Thursday Night Football matchups when we can. Of course, the Blue Jays season is still going on right now, but we're going to try our best to fit this stuff in. Don't you worry about that. We will try our very best to fit it all in. With that being said, the first time Before They Kick Off will happen, we'll follow the Dolphins post-game show of Dolphins versus Colts between the Miami Dolphins and the Indianapolis Colts, set for 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 12 p.m. Central. Following that, it will be Before They Kick Off. We'll get you ready for the game. I will be in the studio. Then Monday, ahead of week 2 against the Jets, we get you ready for the Jets week on Bills postgame as we recap the action from Buffalo versus Baltimore. A very interesting, yes, I say very interesting matchup in its own right. That is going to be a fun game. More like a taste of revenge game, but we'll see who gets revenge from that playoff divisional round where the Bills, as we know, won 127-25 because of what we know. We know what happened. If we watch the game, we know what happened. Anyways, we'll also see if Buffalo can get some revenge of their own from last regular season when they first met. In the regular season. Again, that's Sunday Night Football. The first international game of the season is the Sao Paulo Brazil game between the Chargers and the Chiefs. That's at 8 p.m. Eastern. Hey, who knows? Maybe Thomas is going to jump in for a little fastest 3 minutes edition on Sports for Beginners. We don't know. But we do know this. We cannot wait to get football season started here on this podcast. We cannot wait to get the football season started right here on this podcast. Speaking of this podcast, coming up next week on this show, we are talking about the PWHL, looking at the latest news from around the Professional Women's Hockey League. Minnesota Frost go back-to-back in their inaugural season and in season 2 of the PWHL. What's the latest news around the Women's Hockey League? We're going to find out all of that. Also continue that on Weekly in Sports, the next show that we do on our end of the month May show, which you might have just heard. We're going to continue that also in the month of June as well, the end of the month of June as well. See what else breaks out. And of course, we're going to be keeping a sharp eye on the Blue Jays. We're going to be keeping a very sharp eye on the Blue Jays. It also is the month of June now, as this is the last recording of a recording that took place near the end of May for this show. So coming up on our first June show, we got some PWHL to talk about. We got some Blue Jays to keep an eye on. We got some NFL news to keep an eye on. What's going on in Leafs land? Will Mitch Marner stay a Maple Leaf? All great content coming up on episode 15 of season 4. I do want to break up the elephant in the room though right now. The elephant in the room right now, just before we close up this show as an NFL show. If you would like us to change the direction of this podcast, let me know by sending an email to sportsforbeginnerspodcast 8231@gmail.com. I love creating content for Pittsburgh Penguins fans, Blue Jay fans. We haven't been able to do a lot of Raptors stuff as of late, but I still like doing the content that Thomas provides for the Dolphins fans, for the Bills Mafia out there. I love creating content for you guys, content for my Blue Jay fans out there as well. If you would like me to go to one specific thing, send me an email right now for consideration, because season 5, I can guarantee you, of this podcast will be a new turning point in our show. But right now, for season 4, our plan continues to stay the same. We will continue to go till Christmas, till before Christmas, I shall say, and that will be our season finale. I also do want to celebrate the podcast in August, so we will see what we can get done there. And with that said, that'll do it for this episode of Sports for Beginners, the 14th episode of season 4. Thank you guys so much for being with us. You can find us on Discord under Sports for Beginners or on Discord under Weekly in Sports. Our main handle is Sports for Beginners, but of course there is also a Discord server specifically designed for those listening to Weekly in Sports. And also we are available on YouTube under Weekly in Sports with Scott, the YouTube channel. You can catch all the action on Sports for Beginners, all the action on Weekly in Sports. All of it's all there. Subscribe to Weekly in Sports on Apple, Spotify, and of course YouTube by subscribing to the Weekly in Sports YouTube channel. Subscribe to the podcast Sports for Beginners, the one you're listening to for this show, by going to wherever you can find it on podcasting platform, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, you name the place, we got it for you. We'll make sure that we set things up great for you. Until then, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Scott McGregor. Thank you so much for being with us from the very beginning or even now. Really, really appreciate you joining us, and I look forward to catch up with you again real soon. Until then, love one another. We'll see you next time.
Thank you so much for listening to Sports for Beginners. If you would like to learn more about the show, you can visit the podcast Facebook page or visit the official website. You can also send us an email at sportsforbeginnerspodcast8231@gmail.com. As we always remind you, it is not goodbye, it is until next time.